if you remember back last class, we used point slope form. What did we need to write a point slope form equation? A point and a slope, literally point slope form, a point and an m. Yeah, great. Okay, today we're going to write lines in slope intercept form. What do you think would be necessary to write a slope intercept form equation? Which intercept specifically, x or y?
Y.
Yeah, the y-intercept. Just like we graph lines, we're going to be writing them in y equals mx plus b form. If they give you the slope and if they give you the y-intercept, bam, you can put the pieces where they belong. The thing is, though, they're not always going to exactly give you the the slope and the y-intercept. Like the example you see here, what they might give you is a slope and just a random point. Is that coordinate point my intercept? No, because y-intercepts are always 0, some number. Is that 0, some number?
No.
That's x and y. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to label what we know. We know that they gave us x1, y1, and m. Which equation on my formula chart has x1, y1, and m in it? Point slope, what we did last time, because it's a point and a slope. So guess what we're going to start with today? After you label your information, you're going to write down y minus y1 equal to m times x minus x1. You're going to write down your point slope equation. That's equation number 10 on your formula chart. And then just like we did last class, again, literally nothing different. What are you plugging in where the m goes?
The little m.
M. Yeah, you're plugging m on m. The slope.
Yes.
What are you plugging in on x1?
3.
3, which was what we labeled as x1 from my coordinate. And what are you plugging in on y1? 6, because that's what we labeled as y1. Last class, we would have stopped there. Because last class, I was asking you to write equations in point slope form.
Wait, what about the part where you didn't have slope?
We'll get to those. We will still see those where I didn't give you the slope and you have to find it first.
Well, I would
So-
take the y off.
Huh?
Oh, no, we're not. That's
Okay. Up to here, that's what we did last class. So I'm going to draw a line, and you don't have to draw this line, but I just want you to visually see that's what we did last class. To write this equation in slope-intercept form, 2 things. What is the first thing it says to do?
Distribute
Okay, what am I distributing?
the y.
So everybody draw 2 arrows. I'm going to draw them underneath just because I don't usually have space above.
It's not the y.
But it's just like the arrows. That number in front of the parentheses, you're multiplying times x, and you're multiplying times this negative 3. 4 over 3 times x is 4/3 x. 4 over 3 times negative 3 is negative 4. Consult a calculator. You'll be multiplying fractions today, but that's why we have calculators. So we've written down the distribution version. Then the next step says to do what? What does it say to do to finish this problem? Solve for y. What did they do to solve for y from here to here?
They took away the 6.
They took away the 6 by doing what? They added 6 to both sides. So everybody put plus 6 on both sides of your equal sign, specifically lining them up, number 1, underneath the other 6, because that's what we're getting rid of, and under the other constant, or the other regular number without an x. And then we just actually do this math. What's negative 4 plus 6? 2. And voila, we're done.
That's it.
That's it.
So you just wanted slope and
I just want mx plus b form because now I know exactly what my slope and exactly what my y-intercept is, just like we did when we were graphing lines. I want the y by itself. And here's 1000% why we want this. Does everyone have a Desmos test mode tab open?
Yeah.
I want you right now to graph this function right here. So if we were answering our questions from last class, I want you to type that in just like you see it. Everybody's typing y minus 6 equal 4 divided by 3, open parentheses, x minus 3. Everybody type that in. I'll give you some time. What's happening on your screens now that you typed the purple equation in?
Nothing.
Literally nothing. Okay, now I want you to type in this one I'm putting stars next to. The one we solved for y. Everybody type that one in.
What?
It's the same equation, right? Like we just move some stuff around. But now, when you graph it, does something show up?
Yes.
Desmos, as well as your yellow calculators, will not graph a function unless it says y equals. You have to be able to solve these equations for y, which is just 2 steps more than what we did last class, so that you can graph it and get a ton of information from it. So like today, I like seriously, Desmos is going to be your lifeline today. Desmos, heart eye emojis happening here. Okay, we have to be able to do our solving for y steps so that we can graph these things. Same thing happens in your calculator. The calculator's button literally says y equals on it when you want to graph stuff. Can't graph anything unless it says y equals. It doesn't say y minus 1 equals. It says y equals. And then Angel already asked this question today. He said, what's going to happen if they like just didn't give, I think that was you, if they just gave you 2 points? But just like last class, if they're giving you 2 points, that means you can find your slope using equation number 11. So not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Okay. Let's do some practice problems together. We'll do example 1 together, then you will do example 2. But luckily, we can check all of this in Desmos, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. In example 1, it's asking me to write an equation in slope-intercept form. That's equation number 9. Everybody write equation number 9 next to this. It is equation number 9, right? I'm not crazy? Yeah, okay. Equation number 9. We're going to write equations that look like equation number 9 given the following information. What information did they give me in number 1?
The point.
They gave me 2 points. Okay.
Mrs. Emmy, we have to do like 3 steps.
Yes. Oh my gosh, 3 steps today. We're doing so much math. I love it. What do we label these things? Our first step is always to label. What am I labeling?
X1, Y1, and X2, and Y2.
Okay, great. The only equation on my formula chart that has all of those things, x1, y1, x2, y2, is equation number 11. So that's where we start. We're going to start by writing down the entire equation. You are required to label. You are required to write down your equation. That's how you show me your work. We just copied it off our formula chart here. We plug in what we have. y2 is 4, y1 is -1, x2 is 12, and x1 is -8. We throw that into Desmos, and what do you get out? 1 over 4. Does everyone agree?
Yes.
Okay, great. That is now my m. Yes, it is my m. So now I have an x1, y1, and an m. The equation on my formula chart that has x1, y1, and an m in it is equation number 10. Y minus y1 equal to m times x minus x1. I plug in what I have. What did we label y1?
-1.
Okay. We plug in a -1.
Would it be add positive?
I will change it at the end. Yes, I do want you to change that to positive. I'm going to plug them in normally first, though. Then I plug in m, which is 1/4.
Oh, my bad.
And then x minus, what did we plug in for x1? -8. Almost said it out loud. And yes, you're right. We will need to go back and simplify. Every time I have minus a minus, we should just make that a.
Positive.
Okay, I'm going to make my giant plus sign. Last class, we would have stopped there because I asked you to write them in point-slope form.
Absolutely.
But this time, I'm asking you to write it in slope-intercept form. What were those 2 extra steps I asked you to do? You can read them off the top of your paper. What was the first extra step? Starts with a D. Distribute. So we're going to multiply 1/4 times x and 1/4 times 8. 1000% you have a calculator. Do not worry about multiplying by fractions. We start by rewriting down the stuff on the left side. 1/4 times x is just 1/4 with an x next to it. 1/4 times x. And then I have 1/4 times 8. We would get plus 2 because it's a positive 2 that I got out of my Desmos. It's going to be plus 2. What's the last step I have to do here?
-1.
Minus 1. Why am I minusing 1?
Because you gotta get rid of the one
Oh.
next to the y.
We do have to get rid of this 1 next to the y because we want y equals only.
So turn it to
I'm losing brain
y
cells.
equals
X
1/4 x plus 1.
Yeah. Y equals 1/4 x plus 1. That would be what we think the slope-intercept form of an equation looks like for these 2 points. But every single question you do today can be checked. So before you say you're done with a question, before you say, Miss Quigley, did I do this right? Here's what you're going to do. You see these points, the information they gave you? You're going to type those into Desmos. Your first line on Desmos is going to have that little box or whatever. It's going to say -8, -1 because you typed that in. You're going to go to your next line. You're going to type in 12, 4. You're going to go to your next line, and you're going to type in what we got as our final answer. This is your Desmos. So you should have 3 things typed in on your Desmos. If when you do that, you have 2 coordinate points that show up on your graph, and you have a line that connects them, you have done it correctly. Because you wrote the equation of a line that goes through both of those points. So we're going to take a second, and every single person is going to prove to me that they can type that in on their computer before we go on. Once you got it and you've checked it, you can move on to number 7. Nope, why did I say 7? That's number 2. It's embarrassing. Okay, but we're checking on Desmos first. When you have it checked, everybody look up here for a second. Eyes, eyes. When you have it checked and you know it's right, you're going to put a big check mark next to number 1. That's how you indicate to me that you checked it. Sound good? Okay, take a second and try it. We have enough friends who have done this problem now and checked their work. Like I said earlier, if you want more explanation on the front, we'll do the front. But I think if we practice on the back, you'll be fine to go. What do you notice is given to you on the back? What is this?
Graphs.
Graphs.
Or tables.
Tables. What do tables tell you, though? Yeah, they tell us our points, right? Tables are just coordinate points. So really, when I go back to what did they give me, they gave me x1, y1, and x2, y2. If I want to write, eventually, an equation in slope-intercept form, I need a point and a slope. But I'm only given 2 points. So if I look at my formula chart, we have a whole equation for slope. Once I've labeled my points, I write down my formula for slope. This would be -1 minus 8 over -1.5 minus -4.5. Can someone throw that into their Desmos for me? Thank you. We should get -3. That's now my slope. -3/1. Yeah, that's the same thing. So now I have a point, -4.5, 8, and I have a slope. Once I have a point and a slope, I can fill out literally the thing called point-slope form because you have a point and a slope. I will require that you write down the basic equation first. You just look at the formula chart and copy it down on your paper. And then you plug in what you know. We know that y1 is 8. I already labeled it 8. It's 8. M is -3. And x1 we labeled as -4.5. It will be a positive, thank you. Minus a minus, we change to plus. Last class, we would have stopped there. This class, though, we're not writing our final answers in point slope form, in equation number 10 form. We're writing them in equation number 9 form. 2 things. What's the first thing I do? Starts with a D.
Write down your equation.
Yeah. Oh, no. Right now, after I get point slope form, to get it to slope intercept form, what do I do first?
Multiply -3 times x.
And?
4.5.
Oh, that's 4.5. Yeah, my handwriting's just bad. Yes. That's just a picky question, but you're right. So we're going to multiply this, and yes, I'll let you leave it as a decimal today. We'd have the right or the left side that didn't change, and then -3x minus, what is that, 13.5? Is that what y'all got? 13.5?
Yeah.
-13.5.
You're adding because it's still negative.
What?
It's a negative already and it's another negative. So, wait, right?
I'm not multiplying a negative times a negative, because remember, minus a minus is plus. So I'm multiplying a negative times a positive. That was a really good point. Did y'all hear his question?
No.
He said, if we're multiplying two negatives, it should be positive. But this was a negative a second ago. Now we change the minus a minus to a plus. So we're actually multiplying a negative times a positive. That's why one symbol is so much better than two. One operation in between. I have one step left here. What's the last thing I need to do? Simplify by?
Negative 8.
I minus 8.
Wait, plus 8.
Why do I plus 8, not minus 8?
Don't do the opposite. If you're doing negative, it's going to add together.
If we want to move a term from one side to the other, you have to do its inverse operation. Since that one was already minus, I'm going to plus, which means now I have y equal to negative 3x. What is that? Minus 5.5? No, yeah, 5.5? Is that what y'all got? Check my math, please. We think this is the right answer, but today you should know you get the right answer every time. When you're given a table, you can put a whole table into Desmos. I think y'all know how to do this because you wrote regressions last year. Is that correct?
No, I don't remember.
I will show you in a second, but I think it'll jog your memory. We can still put all of these points into Desmos and then see if this blue equation goes through them all. Let me show you how this works. So again, this is the steps. We've just checked it by making a table on Desmos and then typing in our equation to see if it goes through all the points.
Respect the authors.
Do number 5, please. Number 5. All right, now that it's been another minute, we're just going to check on 5, but I need your help. Angel, what do we label up here?
Your x1, x2, and y2.
Okay, great. And then, Anakin, which equation am I using first? What equation number am I using first? 11, yeah, because I need the slope. And that's the one that includes all of those letters. So I write down my slope of a line formula. And then I plug everything in. This would be 9 minus 3, and then negative 1 minus negative 3. And when you throw that into a calculator, does it give you... It shouldn't. It should be...
3. It's 3.
I agree.
Wait.
What? 9 minus 3 is 6. 6 divided by negative 1 plus 3, which is 2.
Oh, yeah, that's what I
6 divided by 2 is 3. Yeah, okay, cool. Now that I have my slope, ooh, that's the wrong color. Now that I have my slope and I have my point, x1, y1, I'm going to plug it all in. What am I plugging it into? What equation number?
There's so many threes.
Yeah. Which equation number is this one? 10. I plug it into 10. So this is going to be y minus y1 equal to m times x minus x1. And then what do I do because I have minus and minus?
Positive.
Change the whole thing to a plus sign. Okay, that's point slope form. That's where we would have stopped last time. What are the 2 extra steps I'm asking for this time? Distribute. Does distribute adding or multiplying?
Multiplying.
Oh my gosh, please multiply. This is going to be 3x plus 9. And I didn't change anything on this side. One final step, what is it?
Take away the negative.
By adding. And I make sure I add it with its like term. This would end up being y
There we go.
equal to 3x plus 12. Now, I'm not 1,000% sure I'm done with this until I check it on Desmos. What did I do to check it on Desmos?
Write here the coordinates.
Write the coordinates in there or put in a table, and then what?
And then write down your answer and see if it.
Oh, yeah, I got it right.
Put in your answer and make sure that line actually goes through all of the coordinates, and then you can put a check next to it. Yes? Okay, let's go back a second though, because sometimes the information they give you when we write these equations is actually way easier than what we're doing. If you look at the graphs here, I still want an equation in slope-intercept form. And you guys told me earlier that to write a slope-intercept form graph, all we need is a slope and a y-intercept. Can anyone look at that graph and tell me where the y-intercept is?
3. 4. 3. 3.
0, 3, right? So the y-intercept is 0, 3. Specifically important is this number. Can anybody look at that graph and tell me what the slope is?
Slope is
What are we looking for on a graph to find slope?
Negative, this is it negative 1 over 2?
Well, let's see. Okay, let's back up and see. We need the rise and the run, correct? Which means I need to just find 2 good points. Here's my 2 good points. Did I have to go up or down?
Down.
How many?
1.
Down 1 and over how many?
2.
2. So my slope is negative 1 over 2.
See, I told you.
Wait, hold on.
Hold on, hold on.
never mind.
We've been doing that forever, right? We know how to count rise and run. And then guess what? If I'm writing a slope-intercept form equation, that literally means that I'm filling in y equals mx plus b.
Oh.
So check it out. Y equals m x plus b. I'm done. I didn't have to go through all of
Wait,
the
why is it
coordinate
negative?
point stuff
Why is it negative? Oh, never mind.
because it goes downhill.
Yeah,
I didn't have to go through point slope form because they literally gave me, well, I found my y-intercept. I could have gone through point slope form for this and ended up at this equation. 1000% it would have worked. But if you can find the y-intercept on a graph, just plug the intercept in. Can you guys do number 8, please? You find me the slope. You find me the y-intercept. You put those where they belong. If you're struggling on number 8, I'm going to highlight some good points for you so you know where to look maybe. This is important. And you can also use that point and that point as a good. Okay, I'm getting a lot of really good things. I obviously put my answer up here on the board working it out with some people. So we have our slope and our y-intercept, which means my equation is y equals 2/3 x minus 3. Very cool. Hey, did you know you could check this on Desmos too?
Yes.
What would you have done to check this on Desmos?
You would put your coordinates.
Uh-huh. I would 1000%, if this was me, put in this coordinate, make sure it shows up exactly where I think it does on my paper. I would put in my answer, make sure number 1 that it goes through that point, and that number 2 it looks exactly like what's on my screen. Boom, checked. I guarantee to get these questions right.
Can you do that in star?
Uh-huh. That's why we're in star mode. The last thing we're going to do is something that you cannot check in Desmos because it's a verbal description. Let's read this question together and then try to write an equation in slope-intercept form. There are some key words you can look for to know what number is what. I'm going to read it first and then we're going to see if we can figure out those words together. Example 9 says, Parker babysits for families in her city. She charges a family a travel fee of $25
That's the X.
plus $10 for each child in the family.
That's the Y.
Write a function that can be used to find how much Parker charges babysitting X kids. First thing you do when you're writing an equation, first of all, make sure you understand what things are talking about. What are we talking about here?
We're talking about travel fee to child.
We're talking about babysitting kids. X represents what?
X represents the kid fee.
The kids. Okay. So
Oh.
we have kids and we have money. When you're babysitting a kid, you make money, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we get what's happening here. We should be getting money. Should any of my numbers be positive? Or sorry, be negative? No, we're not spending any money. We're making money. Okay, great. Good talk. The other thing you want to look for is all of the actual numbers. We have a travel fee,
Would that be X?
and then we have a plus $10 for each child.
Oh, no, that's X.
That's the B.
There's a big indicator right here. I'm using the wrong color scheme. Let me start over. Wow, I know, wrong color scheme. Here we go.
The plus.
Oh my gosh, does anyone know what the word each tells me? Oh, Christian's saying it. Christian, what are you saying? Each tells me to multiply. In my formula, y equals mx plus b, where am I multiplying? Am I multiplying here?
No.
Am I multiplying here?
Yes. Wait. Yes.
Two things smushed next to each other? That's multiplied, right?
Yes.
So guess what I should plug in right here? My multiplied
10.
number.
10.
So 10 is probably going to go there. That's my slope. That's my cost per child. That's my rate of change for how much different it's going to be per child when I'm babysitting these kids. Now I have this number 25. Where should the 25 go?
By the B. Right. In front of the B.
Yeah, so it's called what's called a flat fee or an initial value. If you hire me to come be your babysitter, If I babysit for 0 hours, but I still showed up at your house, you still have to charge. I still owe $25 for getting there. It's called a flat fee. It's like shipping and handling. It counts once,
$25 to go down the street. That's easy.
right? Right? That's some money right there. $10 per kid.
I used to.
Woo!
Yes,
Sign me up.
My friend used to sell candy.
Think of how if this were truly babysitting right now. Look how many kids are in this room. Money.
My friend used to sell
Money.
candy, and like when somebody would ask him,
That's not how this works.
when somebody would ask him for candy,
Uh-huh.
he would make him pay half the payment at front, and then like the next day when he gets the candy from him, he'll pay the rest of the
Yeah.
thing. Just in case if he doesn't want it no more, he still has the payment
Yeah.
because he like made him like go buy some stuff.
Right.
So,
All right, number 10, let's look for some key words here. It says, a firefighter is climbing down from the top of a ladder that is 90 steps high. If he climbs down 2 steps per second, write a function that can be used to find the number of steps left to climb down after X seconds. 2 things. What does X stand for?
X stands for seconds.
The number of seconds that he's climbing down. And if we're climbing down, might we have some negative numbers? Yeah, we might have some negative numbers here. So when we're filling out our y equals mx plus b, we might have some negative numbers. Do we see any word like each up there? Say it again. Per. Y'all see this? Down 2 steps per second. The word per is my other indicator that the 2 should be multiplied. Where did we put the multiplied number? On the m for mx. Am I going to put 2 or negative 2? Negative 2 because we're going down, okay? And I need to know where I'm beginning, what I'm starting with, what the flat rate is, what the shipping and handling is. 90. We started up at 90 steps high on this ladder, which would terrify me because that's probably like 90 feet in the air. Yeah, because the steps are usually a foot on ladders. Yeah, steps like on stairs are not a foot, but steps on ladders, when you're climbing, they're usually a foot, if not farther apart. So this is really high in the air. Please take your time, Mr. Firefighter. But we can write equations of lines from tons of forms now. What you've done today so far is you have done writing an equation from points, writing an equation from a table, from a graph, and from a verbal description. We did a lot today. But the steps are very, very simple. We can just refer back to the front page that has the steps listed. Get a slope, point slope, distribute, and move.
That's it?
That's it.
Wow.
So we're going to go over one of the problems on the back in a test-taking strategy that you can use when you're taking a multiple-choice test. This is not what you do when you're doing the rest of the homework where there's not multiple choice. You have to work out the problem first. But when you have the back here, which one would y'all like to do? 15, 16, 17, or 18?
15.
Okay, bet.
No.
Oh, up to you.
18.
18.
15. Oh no, 18, 17, 18.
Oh my gosh, we're all over the place. We'll do 20. No, we'll do 18. I heard that the most. So we're going to do number 18 together. So number 18, it says to write an equation in slope-intercept form of the line that is through the given points. If you don't have a formula chart at home, I have posted it on Google Classroom. That's why it says, look on your formula chart for Google Classroom. Whatever. I said that backwards. You know what I mean. So what did they give us here on problem number 18? 2 points. What do? We label.
X1, Y1, X2.
Now here's what you do on a multiple choice test. We know that one of these options, either the red, the blue, the green, or the orange. Sorry. One of those, it is too orange. Okay, don't judge my orange. One of those answer choices, one of those colors, will be the correct answer. Which means one of those answer choices, when you graph it, goes through those coordinate points.
So you record.
When you have answer choices, and I'm not telling you specifically that you have to show your work, on these 4, I want you to label and then draw me what Desmos looks like. That's how you're going to show me your work today. On the rest of them, you have to show all your work because there's no answer choices. But on this one, what we do is we go to our Desmos screen. We type in those coordinate points. And then we start eliminating answer choices based on what does and does not go through those points. So let's do this together.
I don't know if it's
To show me your work on these, here's what you're going to do. You're going to cross out the ones that are obviously incorrect. Boom, boom, boom. Cross them out. You're going to circle the right answer. And then you're going to graph the lines. So we had a coordinate point at 0, 0, and at 1, -1. Those are my 2 coordinate points. And then we had an orange graph, pretend it was orange, that went through both of those points.
brown.
It is kind of brown.
Yeah.
Well, I intended it to be orange. The brown line goes through the 2 points, the brown-orange. And that's how you can show me your work on these 3. So 15 through 18, that's what you're doing. The rest of this page is like what we did in class today. So the rest of it, you do have to show me all of those steps. But you should know you get it right. And I'm not sending a key out, not sending an answer key out, because you can check literally all of your answers.
Is this due on Monday?
This is due on Monday.
class.
Next class, Monday.